Well, hello, folks. I'm L.A. Little, and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. Well, we take a look at these markets, and we do it from a neoclassical perspective each time, asking ourselves just one question, and that is, what happened today, and what does it tell us about the coming ones? I do this show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday. It's broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time, archived on YouTube. It's under the channel L.A. Little. If you haven't subscribed, reach up in the right-hand corner, subscribe. Each time content's pushed, you'll get a notification. As far as how do we do things neoclassically, well, we're really looking for supply and demand on the charts. And the way we do that is looking at, of course, those charts, looking at critical points on the charts that can give us some of that information. And that information, many times, is exactly the kind of information you need to make good decisions. Sometimes you don't quite get what you need. Last night we didn't have any really good clues, but we had a pretty good push up, overnight in Europe, which gave us, or actually Europe held, which gave us a positive open. Got a big push up on Apple this morning as a result of an upgrade. And then the rest was history, so to speak. Had a nice big run to the top side one more time, 1.5% to 2% across the board. Decent participation in the Russell, which has been lagging. You had some good movement in Hong Kong, and outside of that, not much else happened. This movement in Hong Kong actually is tonight. Last night we were actually down, I believe, or at least flat last night. Let's see here. What else? Oh, Europe was flat. Overseas markets, I looked at those charts. Really nothing on any of the overseas markets, so there's no tells there. Gold, a little bit of a bounce, but that's after another new low yesterday. Silver, also flat. Dollar flat today. Dollar is playing with, toying at least with the idea of breaking out. Let's look at the charts here. So we had this push up, pull back down. We had some mixed signals last night, so it wasn't clear what it was going to tell us. Well, today told us it wants to go back up and press to the top side. So we're at, let's see where the top bar is. It's this bar. So the bottom of that's 2097. We're at 2083. And so, when I see a chart that's set up like this, I start looking for the high, the low of the high. And that's right there. We're not that far from it. You got a little bit of a ledge here. There's really, the only other thing I can see is this bar that could give us something to work with. And so when I look at that, that looks to be the two places I would expect this index to try to move to. And then if it gets over it, of course, it can go for the highs. That's 2090, and the bottom of this bar is 2097, and we're sitting at 2083. So 2090 is the number I'd mark tomorrow to watch in terms of the index. If we look at it on a weekly, if this does push back up there, folks, it's going to be a takeaway bar off of the big gap, or not gap, but the big push down last week. And that would be a fairly impressive feat. If it did it, it's up 3% so far. It was down 3.6% last week. So, what are we, Wednesday? Got 2 more days. It's possible. And the breakdown bar is the top. To me, this is the key, right? At least on the S&P, which was the one that hasn't broken clear yet. And that was that if you can get back over the top of the breakdown bar, that would pretty much nullify it and say you're going to go test the highs and probably make new ones. 2103 is the number. And I'm looking here at the swing point low, which is the bearish retest. That's 2120. So indeed, this is the number, 2123. Actually, that's a little bit higher. Let's get that number again. I've got something wrong. That number is 2120, and the top of this is, 2103. So 2103, and then the bearish breakdown top is 2120, and where's the other one here? 2114. So there will still be some resistance here, even after the breakdown bar. But if you get over the breakdown bar, I think that pretty much seals the deal that you're essentially going to test the top of this zone, which essentially is testing the top. And so to me, that's the number 2103, not that far away. Another 20 points, right? You did 20 points in the last 2 days easily. Let's look at the NASDAQ. You know, the NASDAQ's been the strongest one, NASDAQ and the NDX. Nice push up. It had some volume expansion today, unlike the S&P. Top of the bar, here's that same bar, 50.95, and you're at 50.75, 20 points away. You did 70 today, so that's well within the realm of possibility. You know, you can't argue with a market that has this much strength coming right back up at you. So I like the scenario here. I like the volume expansion on the NASDAQ. And we also have that volume expansion, I believe, on the NDX. Yes, we do. And it's now over that critical area where the resistance was that we tested into yesterday and we were able to do anything about. You saw it was the strongest this morning off the Apple news. Apple was up a fairly good percentage here. Let me see what Apple's numbers look like. Apple was up 3%. So it was a big move higher on Apple today. So Russell actually participated today, did a nice push. Key here is going to be the top of this bar is 1178. So Russell has to get over 1178 to 81. That's the key on it. So if you're looking for, you know, the clues here, it's off of these two bars right in there. That's where the Russell needs to trade to. You want to see it actually get up and over that area. And then that would tell you the Russell's going to test this swing point high. And now, of course, the Russell, if you look at it, is extremely lagging compared to the other indexes. And so this is a big move for the Russell if it can actually get something going, because on the weekly, the Russell is the one that's going to set up an ABCD structure to get it back up to the highs. And the way this should play out, you know, if in fact this market's going to new highs, which, you know, more and more it looks like it's going to certainly try, the Russell's going to be the one, right, that pushes back up to test the swing point highs. Where everything else breaks out, this one will be the one that tests, and then that's probably going to be where the huge resistance comes in. I don't know, you know, in terms of time frames yet where that's going to play out, but it wouldn't be surprising to see that play out into the end of the year, maybe even into January if it works out that way. So that's the four indexes. Tonight was positive all the way around. I don't think there's anything negative to say about today's behavior. If we look over at the OX markets, a lot of it is about the currencies. Bank of Japan should be announcing whatever they're going to do this evening. Europe, as we already know, has been devaluing. So now Europe, in Europe is actually going under back over. That looks to me like this is going to get some sort of a bounce here finally. Let me see what the yen looks like. Same thing. So it looks to me like you're going to get a bounce now on the currencies. Yeah, the dollar actually tested with more volume. You're going to get some sort of a bounce on the currencies. Maybe there's going to be a disappointment out of Abe and the central bankers in Japan tonight to drive that currency back up and work against the dollar here. Let me see on the... Yeah, that still looks good on the NDX. So, I mean, on the IXCs. Let's look at the oil market. Oil didn't quite test the low. Got a little hammer reversal. That's just consolidating, so really nothing there. Looking at the bond market. The bond market's coming back up into the gap. I still think the bonds are a tough trade to the north. I think you have to be shorting bonds, not buying them on a longer term basis. I wanted to see what silver and gold look like. So silver gets down here. Let's see what it looks like on a weekly. Still hasn't tested a low on silver. We know gold has. I don't think gold got much of anything today we saw. And really just an inside day, so that doesn't tell us anything. So, you know, looking at the currencies, it does look like they're going to try to bounce. We're not seeing that in the commodity markets, though. Here's the EEM, the emerging markets. They also look like they're trying to bounce, come back into this swing point low in this big bar volume, 34.94. Another 50 cents, another 1.5%. So I suspect that's where that's going to try to trade to. That looks to me like, and overseas, I've already said nothing. Inside days hanging at the highs in Europe. Can't get volumes out of Europe right now for some reason. Maybe it's because of what's going on there. I'm not sure why the volumes or numbers aren't coming out of there. If I look at the sectors, we actually had some decent rotation in some of these sectors today. The one that impressed me the most was the financials. Let me pull up the financials here. We had some good volume expansion again on the financials on a nice little push up, up 1.7%. It looks to me like it's going to go back. Now, you left some volume at the highs on the daily, and it looks to me like it's going to go back to try to test it. That's about 24.97, and that's on this number here, 24.97. And then the breakdown bar here is 25.34. So the financials, to confirm they're going back to new highs, well, of course, has to get over this breakdown bar, 25.34. But I like the way the financials are shaping up. If you look at some of the other sectors, here's the XLI going back towards the highs. Technology, you would expect to do that. Remember, it got beat up pretty good. It's heading back up. Bar here to get over is 44. Let me see, durables. Durables had been one of the stronger ones, and then they started to get hit. The dividends weren't nearly as exciting for them, and they're just trying to come back up to this bar. 49.95 is the bottom. Healthcare, that had been hit pretty good. Let me go get healthcare instead of gold. And here it is coming back. I actually like the way healthcare is trading. It looks to me like it's going to go back and test the highs. And if we look at the consumer discretionary, which got hit really good, they're popping back up to test into the top of this bar. It looks like 80.57, which also is kind of right back into the low of the high, right? So a lot of times those things will line up. That looks like the target right there. And so I'd be looking for a push back into the 80.57 area. Sectors look good. Sectors look like they can run another day. That makes me think the indexes can probably run another day as well. And one more quick look here, the stocks. I'm looking and thinking about the NDX itself. SOX doesn't look too bad. Let me see what the biotech looks like. These are the big sectors inside the NDX. Biotech looks like it's going to test that high and get over it. And then it will be going after the top of the breakdown bar. So biotechs actually look pretty good here. I like this move today. I like the way they're set up. So all in all, and we actually saw some decent rotation in some other sectors like the XLE, volume expansion coming back up. I could certainly see that getting into the bottom of the high again, 70.08 in that case. Basic materials showed some relative strength yesterday. They really got the juice today. They're going over and testing that high. I suspect they're going to break the high and actually head higher. So when you wrap it all together, you got strong sectors. You got overseas markets that no negatives, just kind of hanging there. I suspect Asia is going to follow through. Europe's hanging at the highs. I don't see Europe getting much higher. I think they're just going to kind of stall there. If the euro actually does start to rise, that's also going to help them stall. That's going to push a little pressure on the dollar back to the downside if that's the case, which of course will help these equity markets as well. And so if you wrap it all together, looks to me like we're going to go higher one more time come tomorrow. That's it for tonight's show. Thanks for joining me. You take care, and I'll see you next time. Tell a friend, tell two. I'm LA. This is and was your daily NeoTA wrap. Have a great night. I'll see you next time. Good night.